our internet feed.
Hey, it's your boy Darnell. Another week of Talking Greasy. We had a real tough conversation last week, so it's really not going to stop. My co-host is in the building. How are you?
I'm good. This is April Danielle. Hey, everybody.
And we got a special guest who, you know, is the main reason the show's still running.
Hold us down all the time.
Out a little bit.
Right.
I mean, just in case they've been living under a rock, introduce yourself.
Hey, y'all. This is Dennis McMurray, one of the CEOs of Wolf Nation Studios, podcast studio, videographer, photographer. I'm a lot of things.
Jack of all trades.
But yeah.
Hey man, this is gonna be a short episode, so you know, don't get your titties in a bunch. Just enjoy this, all right? Because
I was like,
You like twist them, or I kind of like,
yeah.
when you gotta when they twist the pretzels. That's kind of
no, you just push them together to get them in a bunch.
Already interesting.
But,
Right.
Well, let's hop into it. The question of the week.
Question of the week, question of the week, question of the week, question of the week. What? Question of the week, question of the week, question of the week, question of the week.
And this question of the week is, do you give yourself enough credit in life? Do you just stop in your life and just be like, you know what? May not be where I want to be, but you know, I'm doing good for myself. Do you especially being an entrepreneur, you always have to check yourself and see where you messed up on. I mean, do you give yourself enough credit during the week, or do you, or where you think you at?
I'm gonna start Dan.
You starting?
Yeah, you're starting.
Oh, dang. Okay.
Yes.
All right. I feel like yes and no. I think it usually fluctuates, and it depends on how well things are going. So like if we having like a good month, like we racking in like hundreds, and it's just like, hey, okay, yeah, I feel it. Yeah, we getting this money. I feel great. Then it's great. But when there's certain things that maybe go wrong, and you're just like, you know, you really start to capitalize on, you know, your own mistakes, and then you start like, okay, like, you know, I suck. Like this, I'm trash. I can't believe, you know, this happened. Like you really start to get down on yourself. I think that's the biggest thing. Which is kind of like why I have that poster in the studio that says "Don't be so hard on yourself," because it's really hard when things aren't going well to, you know, still give yourself credit that you're still talented, you still do a lot, you know, you still come a long way when things are like bad. So I say it's like kind of like a 50-50.
Okay, what about you, April? I mean, being a busy woman, do you ever take the time out for yourself just to appreciate where you're at and what you have?
No. I'm gonna be honest.
That's real.
Yeah, it's real. It's real. I don't. I don't know if any of it contributes to some of the mental health reasons that I have, but I feel the imposter syndrome. I feel it. Like I feel like an imposter a lot of the times. Like I feel like, why am I here? Like, I'm going to get found out. I'm going to be a fraud. Like, people don't take me serious. Like, they're going to think I'm a fake. Like, I feel that. Like, really, like, that's part of my anxiety on a daily basis. Like,
Well, we're going to save that for
Okay.
the main dessert. But I kind of feel where you at, because as far as where I go, I'm in a weird spot because I'm a creative, and sometimes you can create things, topics, conversations that, you know, make people think, but also in the grand scheme of things, I really don't feel like my place is, or my voice is valid in a lot of places. And you know, that's kind of disheartening, because you know, I've been doing podcasting since 2015. Here we are, 2014, about to be 2020, and it's like, okay, you know, what's your worth? Because I've heard people come up to me like, hey, we want you to do this. We want you to help open this, work with that. And I'm like, I mean, bro, I just podcast, or I'm just in this lane right here.
Right.
And then on the reverse of that, I feel underappreciated sometimes when I just don't get, you know, an award to go with it, or a a cosign from everybody because my conversations aren't mainstream, flat out. And that's a weird place to be. I mean, before we get to the main topic and really explore this, when it comes down to your self-esteem and your identity, I mean, where does most of your self-esteem come from? The good part. Where does it come from, Dennis?
I think from feedback. Like there's a certain value when people come and tell you like, oh bro, like man, like you the shit, like this is amazing, like like when people react in such a way that it's just like, oh man, like this is awesome, then you start to feel like awesome. You're just like, oh yeah, I am awesome. And then you start
I am the shit.
You try not to get like a big head about it, but like when people are really like fucking with what you do, you're just like, yeah, you know what, I kind of am the shit. You kind of right about that.
What about you, April? Even though you said with your self-esteem being in a weird place due to
I kind of wanted to start with a little bit of a definition of imposter syndrome if people don't know what that is. So, dictionary, Google all that good stuff. So it says imposter syndrome is a psychological phenomenon in which people are unable to internalize their accomplishments. Despite external evidence of their competence, those with the syndrome remain convinced that they are frauds and do not deserve the success that they have achieved. Proof of success is dismissed as luck, timing, or as a result of deceiving others into thinking they are more intelligent and competent than they believe themselves to be. And I feel like I do that on a daily basis.
Well, I mean, how can you feel that way if you're maintaining? Because if you're maintaining, and we're gonna stop this conversation a little bit short after this. I mean, when I meet the quote unquote higher ups, it never fails. A lot of the time, I meet the boss who the CEO, like on our last episode, the dude, the geeklet. I know why he's a boss. It explains itself in every sense of the word. And then there's other people, it's like, how did you get here? Like, how do you have all these things? And like, I know this sound shitty, or
is it kind of like, why are you doing better than me?
Yes. Okay. Perfect example. It's true. Okay. It's like when you go to college, take a college course, and you barely getting a C in the class, then the autistic kid is getting an A+. It's not like he couldn't do it. It's not like he couldn't do it, but it's like, damn, really?
Why did he have to point out the autistic kids? Shout out to the ASD, Autistic Spectrum Syndrome.
I got this.
No, don't you do that. Don't talk like that.
I want to confirm, God, if you're watching this.
Thank you.
Don't void my ticket into heaven, please.
Thank you, because it's on now.
Man, when I get to heaven, I'm gonna be like, where the hoes at? Get up.
What's the one I've been seeing? Hell. Or heaven? What time we eat? What time we eat? God, get out. I'm just hungry, God.
Man, let's cut it off right there. Okay. Well, we about to go to break. Are you an imposter? Or you are who you really think you are? And what is your actual value on Talkin' Greasy?
This episode is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download and a 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/greasy. There you'll have access to over 180,000 titles right from your smartphone.
Y'all niggas is lying. It's time to talk that shit.
And we're back on Talkin' Greasy. I mean, let's get it out there, man. The whole reason for this whole imposter syndrome episode is because, I'm reflecting on my own life. And maybe you are too, because a lot of us, we're professionals, we working, we trying to get ahead. But...
Or entrepreneurs.
Yes. Yeah. Or at the same time, it's like, okay, yeah, I got the degree. Yeah, I got the skills. but what am I worth? And that's a weird thing with the imposter syndrome, because you and it's so brilliant, it's almost evil. You get tricked into getting paid anywhere from $9 to whatever dollars an hour just to work on other people's stuff.
That's real.
So they go in telling you what your value is, but you never really sit down with yourself, by yourself, or maybe you have with a professional to really see where you at mentally, emotionally, and physically. Yeah. And the weird part is, I think I talked about it last episode, is maybe we don't have the time for that, or maybe we try to shy away from that because we're afraid of that answer. Dennis, when it comes to your self-esteem, not just as a business owner, as a man, as a boyfriend, or whatever else.
Baby daddy.
He went all the way there.
But
I'm not a baby daddy. I'm sorry. I'm not part of that committee. I don't have membership. I'm sorry.
So, I mean, when we talk about imposter syndrome, when we talk about not feeling like you earned that, I mean, have you ever been to that place with yourself, especially with a year of operating your own business?
Yeah, I think it happens frequently, especially like because we do a lot of great work and a lot of the things we do turn out like really awesome at the end of the day. A lot of people on the outside, looking in, are just like, oh man, like y'all got it going on, like this is it right here, like y'all the real deal. But a lot of times we have to go back to our normal lives and still see that there's a lot that's just like not in place and just doesn't feel right. So trying to find, I guess, the balance in between those and really like self-identify, like, am I, where I need to be? Am I really, getting like what I'm worth? Like there's like, yeah.
Well, I'm gonna ask you one question, then I'm kicking it to April. When we talk about your self-worth and what you're missing, what would make you feel like you are where you need to be?
Like a couple $1 million. Like I mean that like, and I mean that like in no.
That's real.
Like, and I'm so serious about that too. Because the thing is, there's a lot of other entrepreneurs out there, and like even all the books that I read, like I was reading one about Zappos, like when they sell like shoes online, and when they were like 23, 24, starting up their first businesses, like they sold it for a couple $1 million. And that's younger than what I am right now. And when I think about, and then the fact that they're just like, oh, and at first, like, we weren't happy with it. They wanted like $2 million, and we were like, nah, we're going to keep the company. And I'm just like, if I got an offer for $2 million to buy my company, I would be like, oh, you know what?
Sure. There you go.
But then, they kept on going instead. And then later on, someone came with an offer. He's like, yo, we give you $20 million each to each person who owns it. And I'm just like, and when that's not happening, in your own life, you see the progression, that maybe the company is doing. But when you know what's possible and you know what other people are doing, and I'm a photographer, videographer, the fact that I see other people on social media like traveling and doing shoots and doing what they want, and they're never, in front of a desk at a regular job, and they're never having to do
for anything.
Yeah, and like they don't have to worry about student loans. And I think about what I'm doing right now and where they are. When you kind of do that comparison, that's when you just start to, you start to glare out like, okay, is this it?
But that's your first problem. That I'm kicking to April. You can't compare without maybe undervaluing yourself.
That's true.
I mean, that person has 20 million, but do they have the skills you do? Are they the great person you are? Do they, even though they have maybe skills that are more lucrative? I mean, like, your value doesn't go down. Like, if you put $1 million in the trash, it's still worth $1 million. I mean,
if anyone can like find where $1 million is in some trash, like I will definitely die for it. I have no
church ham.
Yeah.
Right, me too.
I have no pride. I will do it.
Well, same question with you, April. Job, place, still working on yourself, but what's the missing piece to making you feel like you're more valuable?
That's a good question. So I definitely feel like I'm in the imposter syndrome. I am the imposter syndrome. Like, to me, I don't feel like I'm doing enough. I don't feel like I'm successful enough. I'm not doing enough. I'm not social media doing it enough. I'm not doing what all I need to do to be successful, to especially here in Dallas, with the Dallas market, like, everybody's so out there and, social and all that stuff. I don't feel like I'm that, and I want to be that. But what I can do, or, I don't know. Like, I
don't know is a valid answer. I mean, you may not know the missing piece yet.
Yeah.
Like me personally, my missing piece of my career, personally and on the creative side is, a little bit more capital, because I'm behind on a few things I want to do. Mm-hmm. And then, and also, for me to be better, I think I need more time. By more time is my job is taking up everything. Like, it's so bad. Like, I didn't get off work till almost 11 last night. I didn't get home till 11 last night.
And you come here to work today.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And it's like a day to create, a day to make a whole bunch of content for almost a month.
Yeah, and to give it your all too.
Yeah, because it's one thing to give out a product, and then there's another thing to give quality every time. Yeah, and that's a whole nother struggle. I don't care what you're doing. Even if you make Lexuses, I mean, making a dope ass Lexus every time, I mean, it wears on you.
I feel like maybe I don't have the exposure yet. One reason being I'm not from Dallas, and I love Dallas. I love this. I've considered it my second home. Yeah. But I don't have the exposure like I have, or like other podcasts or creatives or entrepreneurs in Dallas have. I feel like that's maybe one reason.
Well, my thing is, when it comes to kind of, because let's talk solution. Yeah. Mm-hmm. We talked about the symptoms. We talked about how it makes us feel. Now let's talk solution. I feel like, and I really have to have this conversation with myself, is you really have to ask yourself, A, where are you at? And B, could somebody make it there if they wasn't you? Or if they wasn't what you've been through? Like you're doing audio and video, but I mean, you went to school for your mom, been in the business. So again, this is your highway. Yeah. You trying to figure out yourself and get to a better place emotionally, because you've been through situations where, hey, I need to get better, be in a better place, better city, better everything. Then myself, it's like, okay, you put the work in, you're gonna go farther, because you can make nothing into something on a consistent basis. Yeah. And it kind of sucks, because it's like you see
your worth, but you want other people to see your worth, and you feel like other people aren't seeing you. Right, validation, affirmation, validation, which also is my love language. Yeah, me too. Is that I need that? Is the affirmation and validation? Is that people don't see that I work a corporate 9 to 5. Yeah. Just 10, not even 9 to 5, 8 to whatever. I'm in there, whatever they need, and then I come and do this. Yeah. Well, which is my passion, and which is I'd rather have more validation in what I'm doing, my passion, than my corporate job. And I don't see that validation in my passion than like I see in my corporate job. And so sometimes it does get to me. It gives you that self-doubt, like, damn, like I posted this, I didn't get that many likes, or I talked about this and nobody wanted to discuss it. And it's like, well, damn, like, am I worth it? Am I real? Am I being genuine? And it weighs on you.
And let me ask you something, because we already brought it up. Do you ever feel envious of seeing people in a further light or getting ahead of you when when you know for a fact they're not doing half of what you're doing?
Yes, I'm gonna be real. Yeah.
I mean, then
I see it in two different veins. I see it, you know, if I'm upset by it, why am I upset by it? You know, is it because I feel like I should be where, you know, I should be doing better because I do more? And then the other way you got to look at it is like, okay, maybe there's something that I need to adjust in what I'm doing right now if it's really not, you know, popping off like it should be, and it doesn't seem like they're doing as much, you know. And that's not to say you have to compare like the way you do things to make yourself seem just like them, but more so thinking about the system that you have set up, whether it be for your business, for your podcast, for anything that you have, and really think about the effectiveness of what you're doing. I had to take a sit back. Step back. There you go.
Yeah.
It's on your feet. Yeah, there you go. But I had to take a step back one time because I was charging very little to do like a lot of work with like video wise for like, you know, commercial shoots, like big shoots. And I was really lowballing myself. Like I was just like, oh, you know, I'll do it for like, you know, $40, $50. You know, but there was other people who were getting more money from it, and like they not hungry and they on vacation. So I'm like, okay, something I'm doing is wrong.
Yeah.
I'm undervaluing myself somewhere. And then one day I was just like, yo, I mean, I could do the commercial, you know, for sure for $100. And they were like, yeah. And I was like, okay, maybe I undervalued myself again. So I tried again.
How long have I been undervaluing myself?
Yeah, for a different person, I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll do it for $250. And they're just like, oh yeah, okay, that's perfect. That's definitely in the budget. I'm just like,
Yeah. Yeah.
okay. And then my last one, you know, really big, you know, deal. They were just like, you know, it was like, yeah, we want to do this. I'm like, all right, cool. I'll do it for like $500. And they're like, okay, yeah. And I'm just like,
I could ask for more.
I could have been doing this the whole time. And that's when you start to really think about, you know, the person you're comparing yourself to versus you. And you're just like, yo, the only person who was telling me that I couldn't charge that much was me because of how I felt about my skill. And I watched this one business person, and they were like, the first time I charged $1,000 for a shoot was the first time I charged $1,000 for a shoot. And it was never like, because someone's like, oh, when do you know you can charge this? When do you know you can do this? And they were just like, I knew when I threw it out there, and they said yes. And that was the only, once that happens one time, and you know that that can happen, and that someone said yes, and that they were pleased with what you did, that's when you got to snap into your own self and be like, yo, I know my worth. And if other people aren't okay with that price, you move on.
Okay.
So.
Well, my thing is, let's get to the end of this conversation, and you kind of brought it up, value. I mean, let's give hypotheticals. Who has more value? Let's say a new guy who's hungry but has been studying it, and this is his first, video. He wants to charge $100. A guy who's a veteran but he doesn't give speedy service, but he charges $1,000. To you, who's more valuable?
Man, I think it really depends on the project and the importance.
Okay.
Is one big thing. So let's say this is okay. So we have the young one who may not have as much experience, and you said he was charging. What's he charging?
100.
You charging
100. Okay.
You're charging 100, and you got them doing your wedding. You know.
Ooh, okay.
They botched the fuck out of your wedding. The pictures are like blurry or be smudged. Because the thing is, like when you are newer, you fuck up. I fucked up. So it's like a big shoot, and I was just like, oh my god, wow, how am I gonna bring this to this person? You know, and at the back of your mind, like, well, at least I only charged them $100. But there's that chance that can happen. And then you have the professional who maybe, you know, you said either they weren't hungry or they just had like a
they do quality work, but it's not as speedy.
It's not as speedy. I think timeliness is always important. But the thing is sometimes if it were something like a wedding, like if I were to get it still a little bit late, but it actually looked like well polished, 110% like beautiful, then I'm just like, all right, cool. I wish I would have got this sooner, but this is what I was looking for. So it really becomes more about the question of, okay, how much am I willing to risk or bet on you that this is going to be what I'm looking for? But let's even the playing field. Let's say that we've looked at their previous work before, and both levels kind of look the same to you. Like there's no like you've seen both of their
To
portfolios.
the untrained eye, yeah.
Yeah, and you're just like, okay, this looks straight. This looks cool. Then I might end up going for the younger gun because they're passionate about it and they're firing like on all cylinders. But it does just really depend. It's a really hard question.
Yeah.
I mean, well,
It's like, what if someone was cutting your hair?
I'm gonna say like
what if somebody, like, can you really
take the question. Take the question to
as long as you're
us.
not giving me a Stephen A. Smith type haircut, I'm cool. Or
Wait, I was say, well, we'll take the question as is podcasting. Like, if somebody asks us to host or asks us to do a podcast, you know, like if we didn't bring our A game,
yes,
you know, how would you feel? How would you rate? So taking the same with a podcast. If somebody was coming to ask us to host a podcast or host an event because they've seen our work, you know, like how would you give yourself? How would you rate yourself? How would you know what your worth is based on what they wanted?
Well, I mean, I'll be able to host the event, so I know, being honest, if I asked 150 to host the event, I don't think that's being like, hey, you over the top.
Yeah.
Because again, I put 5 years into this. I make good content. I know how to do stuff live. I wouldn't be scared. And I mean, I can start conversations.
Yeah.
So
you can back it up.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. But my thing is, when it comes to this whole, you know, feeling yourself thing, it's so easy to overinflate yourself too. It's so easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I mean,
Especially with social media.
yeah, especially with social media. I mean, because you know, I mean, 1 minute, you know, Rihanna could be like, Dennis, I want you to shoot a video of me nude. And next thing you know, these studio prices are astronomical.
Right.
And Talkin Greasy came from.
I'm not gonna lie. If I got the opportunity to shoot Rihanna naked, like my whole life gonna change. I'm gonna start dressing like real different and everything. Like,
You gonna change your whole outfit?
Like my hair probably gonna be dyed a certain color because I'm like, it don't matter, bro.
What you like, Rihanna? What you like? You
bro.
like brown, auburn? Okay.
Like, look, I saw Rihanna. She was new. I made a lot of money from it, bro. I'm feeling totally different right now. Like, and that would happen. Oof.
Man,
Rihanna.
I mean, but my thing is like, and that's the thing. Like your value could get so inflated or overlooked so quickly, especially in a room full of people. Because no shade, and I hope I'm not being disrespectful when I say this, with podcasters and people who shoot photography or video, we're like leaves falling in a forest. It's like, okay, yeah, you dope, but I mean,
right. There's so many others.
And it's a hard conversation to have because, I mean, your value now, you know, talking all Disney, like we know your values is your personality, your everything, but it's still hard to convey that to people because hell, there's people that still think Michael Jordan ain't a legend. There's people that think LeBron still ain't a legend after years of proof.
Yeah.
And it's like
I remember.
it's like where's the sweet spot of your critique and the public?
Yeah.
Right. So that's a main thing with imposter syndrome is that we compare ourselves to other people and we shouldn't. Is that just
so
because
hard not to, though.
Yeah, it is. Oh, I agree.
I'm tired of being.
I agree.
Nah,
looking at
listen.
other podcasts, other Instagram accounts or whatever.
You don't comparing people is not a sin. It's
not.
It's the only time.
That's
the only time
ingredient of imposter syndrome is that you don't feel like your worth is good enough than the next person.
I mean, true, but the only reason I compare myself is basically so I know where the floor is on the creative thing. Like if we doing video, and all this other type of stuff, and nobody else is doing it, okay, we're ahead of the curve. Yeah. If everybody's doing it, that's the standard.
Yeah.
So I mean,
it's about knowing your place.
Yeah, it's about knowing your level. That's what it is for me personally. But final thoughts on this, because again, I did say this was short, and Dennis already got enough of my money today.
Wolf Nations is not an imposter.
Look at
They're doing their thing.
Here's your bill.
Take my money.
Rihanna, I'm still waiting.
Final thoughts on imposter syndrome. What would you tell other people who want to do what you want to do? The first step is, as far as critiquing yourself, Dennis.
Yeah.
So as far as like taking like a look at yourself and being like,
self-evaluation.
To self-evaluate. The biggest thing I would say, first of all, is like don't be so hard on yourself. As in, like, you can definitely be critical of yourself, but don't use words to describe yourself that are deflating. Like, it's one thing to say, okay, I did a shoot and, I didn't like the footage. I felt like this part could be better. I felt like I could do this better. To say something instead like, oh, I'm trash, or man, like, I said, like, that's, you start to really believe that, and you really have to be careful about the things that you say, to yourself, because it's really going to come out in your work and it's going to affect your confidence, no matter what you do. So the first thing is like, don't be so hard on yourself, but then also be real with yourself. Don't ever go into a situation thinking like you did this 110% like correctly and that you're just the best in the world. Like, you really have to look at it critically and be like, okay, so what are some practical areas in which I could have improved? So it's really just about being real with yourself, but like, don't be an asshole to yourself, because you don't deserve that, and it's not going to help you. No one in the background is going to like give you a cookie for treating yourself like a piece of shit. No one's going to come out and give you, any consolation head, like, oh, it's okay.
Right.
Like,
just thank you for taking that self-evaluation.
But like, for real, just like, be real with yourself. Yeah.
Well, April, what would you give the solution to the young woman who's want to invest in her creative side, but she's a little too scared or don't think she can do it?
I am definitely a better supporter of other people than I am myself, which I need to work on. But I say do it, go for it. Solution is try not to compare yourself to other people, which is hard to do. It is really hard to do. Because you do see the standards and what other people are doing and what you consider to yourself as successful or unsuccessful. And if you're not doing what you feel is successful or unsuccessful. But do what you do it for you, basically, at the end of the day. Do what you want to do it for you, and don't give up with it. Just keep going. Like, if setbacks happen and fallbacks and all that stuff, keep going. And I need to take my own advice, but you're doing good. You're doing well. People enjoy your content. People enjoy you as a person, and just to keep going.
Well, my final advice would be, which is something I'm still working on, is give yourself the time and give yourself the curve that nobody knew it at first. And we're just gonna get Dennis' social media, and we're gonna wrap it up.
Yeah, all right. So you can follow me on most social media platforms. My personal one being Shot by Den, and our Instagram for Wolf Nation Studios is just that, Wolf Nation Studios with Wolf with an E, because we want it to be different. And and that's how you can find me. Don't look for me on Facebook. I don't do Facebook friends. You can get me on Instagram. My Twitter is pretty bad, I'm not going to lie. Like, I say some pretty horrendous stuff. But
that's okay.
Yeah. Black Planet. I'm just kidding.
You ain't Black Planet. Stop it, Dennis.
Okay.
This is April Danielle. Everything is April Danielle, APRYLDANYELLE. Except for Facebook, everything is replaced. The Y's are replaced with an I. And then also Talkin Greasy with Darnell.
Talking Greasy. We are on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and YouTube. Also, if you would like to be a guest on Talking Greasy, hit us up at talkinggreasy@gmail.com. And also, my personal is Darnell Does It on Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat. Send titties. Thank you.
No.
Because it ain't easy talking greasy.
Head full of smoke, body full of ink. I don't measure it no more. I pour it till it's pink. As I'm lifting up the doors, dropping ashes on the seat. Oh, I ain't barely reached my peak, no. I ain't barely reached my peak.